revolution, including the scientific revolution, created a world that is no longer sustainable. This talk, I would like to share some thoughts on this topic of making science, technology, and innovation serve all, so serve every one of us. And then there is a subtitle to that: Think Global, Act Local. So there is a new term that the Prime Minister has used in the last few months. I'm going to use that term because I think it describes the situation much better than earlier manifestations, many earlier incarnations of this change process. He used the term post-normal times. The Malaysia commercialization year, and the PM started the speech by saying that I'm not going to read the text, I'm just going to speak off the cuff. And what he did was to say, okay, we are now facing post-normal times. Very interesting for me, because he went on to connect the economy, people, science and technology with post-normal times. So I felt almost as a duty for me to continue to expand on this topic, which is what I'm going to do today, to share my own thoughts on what it means to have post-normal times. It is a global change. It is post-industrial, when humanity has decided, not by any vote in the UN, but collectively decided to dematerialize our lives. The Industrial Revolution actually brought an industrial view of human society. And the main focus was the production of physical things. What has happened since then is clearly seen today. The Industrial Revolution, including the scientific revolution, created a world that is no longer sustainable. That is what we see today. So post-normal times is a way to look at the future with a more positive outlook. So what is dematerialization? It is now a society, an economy, a political system that is now based more on knowledge, no longer on material things. And a very important part of that knowledge is scientific knowledge. But let's just stick to what is post-normal times as described by its proponents, and including the Prime Minister 3 months ago. So what does he say? There are basically 3 C's in post-normal times: complexity, chaos, contradictions. So you're getting all this, what in English they call it the perfect storm. The perfect storm is coming together. Some people call it a poly crisis. It's a new term. WEF calls it poly crisis. Multiple crises coming together. Anyway, the PM also simultaneously all these driving forces are coming. That's why it's causing such a huge transformation. Back to the question of post-normal times, the new norms have not emerged. They are in the process of emerging. The old norms are almost dead. So what the new norms may mean, we do not know yet. They are in the So if you look at the situation now, when the old norms are appearing to be replaced by a new set of norms, in between you can imagine a state of transition which is turbulent. So what does it imply for science? It implies that we need a post-normal science. Normal science has brought us this difficulty, this unsustainable world. We have to create a new science which we call the post-normal science. From the dark to the light. Normal science is reductionist. as far as its view of nature is concerned. When you have a reductionist view, you also believe in at least three things. There are many other things, but I want to mention all these three things. Number one is empiricism. Number two is materialism. And number three is determinism. Added together, it creates a view of science, of nature, that actually is divorced from the human spirit. That's what I mean. So what is going to happen next when you want to form a new kind of science, which is postnormal, is one that can integrate different kinds of knowledge. When we went to Sabah, we actually had initial signs that there was an interest to have a rocket launch site in Malaysia, and Sabah was chosen as the best site, somewhere in Sampurna, Tawak area. And we mentioned to the Chief Minister and the Science Minister, Mr. that perhaps if that is the case, we would like to support you, and it can even become a launch site for the whole of ASEAN, because that's a political decision. But for us, as scientists, we are ready to assist the state to go into space. And I feel very comfortable because I happen to be a director of an aerospace company myself. Because I am a director of a subsidiary of Turkish Aerospace in Malaysia. I have a Starlink. We can have a bintang link coming from Malaysia, no problem. Because these satellites are not really, they are micro satellites, for those who know. You have to keep replenishing them repeatedly. Elon Musk launches them by the dozen each time. Every single rocket carries dozens of satellites because they are expendable. Anyway, this is what we discussed in Sabah. And certainly ASM is in position to actually assist the government, state government of Sabah to actually move into space. What does Tagal do? Tagal is a customary way of protecting their biodiversity, their forest. And in this case, is protecting the river. I couldn't go. But when Azami was there, the local community is able to protect their rivers in such a way it's pristine, it's clean, no pollution. We had indigenous scholars on the land. One scholar is Professor Poline Bala. I'm not sure if any of you know Poline Bala. She's an anthropologist. She's a Galavit from Dari. And she was saying on the panel how when she mixes with people like us, normal scientists, natural scientists, they make her feel small. She says they are so proud of their science, they publish so many papers, they have laboratories, they have big funding, and she is just an anthropologist studying indigenous culture. So I felt not sorry for her, sorry for our scientists. They are very narrow-minded. And in one occasion, I think just last week, I was addressing some of the young scientists who were there. I took the opportunity to say that natural scientists have become a bit too arrogant. Let's become a bit humble and know that we do not have all the answers. Don't pretend you have all the answers. You cannot solve this problem. To solve the problem that we face as a humanity, you need to craft every kind of thinking person. And that's only the only time when you can actually come up with total solutions. Engaged by the state government, very interesting. Second, the state government, what does she do? She goes around Sarawak, looking at all indigenous, knowledge, plants, craft, and bring them to life in the modern setting. and if possible, monetize, commercialize and monetize. And the two complemented each other very, very well on the panel. The only person missing was the natural scientist. The people who make this sociologists and anthropologists feel very small. I have to say all this because I happen to be on this panel in the ASM, and one of my former hirees, Prof, he was put in up as a fellow, and I saw for the first time this person, I will mention his name, of course, good fellow, with 15,000 citations. I've never seen anyone with 15,000 citations. I used to chair also UN. I was the chairman of the board of UN in Sulaya. And I met this fellow, engineering also. He was telling me he has got a lab, and his lab produces a paper every 2 weeks. So you can imagine Poline Bala, this fellow might be super smart. Of course, they are very smart, but they cannot solve the world problems. What they say is that they're going to commercialize if possible, and part of the commercialization process will go back to the indigenous people. How they are closing is very interesting. Well, any of us can do that. The only problem is we never ask the indigenous people. They are so busy in our labs trying to look at all the journals, talking rubbish, very proud of ourselves, not solving the problem. Sorry to say that. You can object to what I'm saying, but you're welcome. But this is my view. If I were to run the academy for a few more years, I will be saying the same thing until my terms. You can be tired of me, it's okay. I will bore you to death. So what do we do next? Next is here, Terengganu. Just like we just heard about Artemis. These are the things that you should be looking at. And of course, in my previous life, I used to advise the Menteri Besar of Terengganu many years ago. At that time, we were interested in multimedia. So I actually advised the Menteri Besar. Terengganu people are very creative, artistic. Why don't we go into multimedia with an artistic spin? I think he did it. I'm not sure how successful it is, but it's still worth pursuing. If you look at the multimedia industry that came out from the multimedia super corridor, one of the successes, the Ipin, Bobabuai, and so on. Now, Putri Lima Purut, have you seen that? Very beautiful. It's going to be a full movie soon. This is the result of 20, 30 years of effort. Well, it is actually in the act. Voluntary act. In 1994 and put into operation in 1995.
Dalam internet.
So you are all welcome to be part of our ecosystem. But let me just make sure that I don't forget to thank our good Vice Chancellor.